Everything in this universe is made of material. What do we have around us? Houses, parks, and inside the house, furniture, move out, air, water, soil, and so many more things. All this makes our surrounding. And all the substances in the universe are made of material. What is this material called? We may call it by any name, but the scientists like to call it matter. So matter is all things in our surroundings are made of material called matter. Now this is a little vague. What do we understand by this, all the things and material? It has to be a little more specific because science is always specific. I am telling you bricks is also matter, air is also matter. What is common between bricks and air? Both have mass and both also occupy space. Matter has mass and it occupies space. Now, this makes it a little more tangible, a little more understandable. Our ancient Indian philosophers talked of 5 basic things and they called it Panch Tattva. Tattva means element. Of course, they didn't really know scientifically at that time what is element. You can say 5 basic things. What were those 5 basic things? Sky, earth, fire, air and water. The Greek philosophers also reached almost the same conclusion. But now the scientists have, as I told you, become a little more specific and they say anything that occupies space and has volume is matter. That is why air is as much matter as a brick or as soil or as your furniture or even a big building, a high-rising apartment. All of them are matter. Now that means air also occupies space and it also has mass. For this we have done simple experiments in junior classes. Or even just to revive, when you blow air in a balloon, it starts occupying more space and it also weighs more. So air is matter. Just by knowing that matter has mass and it occupies space, do we really come to know of anything about the matter? We don't know. We don't know why it has certain properties. We also don't know why it behaves in a certain fashion and how is it made of. Now to understand that, we have to question ourselves that what possibly it can be made of. The scientists also did the same thing. Initially, they thought maybe it is like a plank of wood, a continuous thing, like a sheet of paper or a piece of cloth or maybe iron sheet, something continuous. But before we reach a conclusion, let me do a simple experiment. Actually, it is not even an experiment. It is a day-to-day life. Every day, when you want to have a cup of tea or milk to make it sweet, what do? You dissolve sugar in it, isn't it? Now, when you dissolve sugar in it, does the level of tea or milk or water that you were drinking increase? Does it spill over? You will say yes. One day it was full and when I stirred, it fell or it spilled over. That's not what I'm talking of. Take precaution. Don't fill it full and then add sugar, stir it and let it settle. Does it increase? It doesn't. Do you know a Parsi story? When the first Parsis came to India, The king asked them about them, and they said, "We will not increase anything." He actually got a glass of milk, dissolved some sugar, and showed it to the king. The level has not increased. And he only wanted to say, "We will intermix so well that we will only sweeten the milk. Our taste will be felt, but we will not be seen." So, from this, what do we understand? That actually matter is made of small particles. What are these small particles called? They are called molecules. So one thing we have understood, that matter is particulate, which means it is made up of small particles called molecules. Right? Then another thing, we just now discovered that the sugar does not increase the level of water. Where do these molecules disappear? In childhood, of course, even now you are children, but when you were still younger, you must have played with marbles. Are they there still? I'm sure some of you must have still collected them. Take them out, put them in a container. Now what you do is, you add some sand over it. What will happen? A little will get collected on top. You shake it a little, sand will settle down. Then again add some more sand and keep on repeating. Only after a little while, when all the spaces between the molecules has filled in, that sand will come on the top. So where did the sand disappear? Between the marbles. That means there was space between the marbles. That is exactly what is the situation with molecules. There is space between the molecules. Now how much space? In your class, you make rows of your sitting arrangement, isn't it? There is some space between two children. There is also a little more space between the rows. And sometimes when you are playing in the playground, there is much more space. Now, on what does this space depend upon? Why, say, some places they are closer to each other, while in others they are not? There has to be something. I will give you another example. You feel very friendly with one child, very, very close. Your bond of love and friendship is very strong. But in other cases, you are friendly but not so close. So, what is the basis of this? There has to be some attraction. Why two people become more friendly than others? Similarly, between the molecules also, there is a force of attraction. And that is called intermolecular force of attraction. Intermolecular means between the molecules. So when this force of attraction is strong, the molecules are held closely. When it is less, they are less close. Still less close. So basically we find these two things. They are made up of small particles, the molecules. Molecules have intermolecular force of attraction, which determines the intermolecular space. Science is doing and observing. You want to do everything, see yourself, and then reach a conclusion. Alright? That's fair enough. So, you can just take a beaker, fill it with water. Now, you take a spoon of sugar and pour it in water. Stir it and see if the level has increased. To be more sure, you can mark the level before adding sugar. And then if still the level has not increased, so that is your one observation. Second observation is, you can take the crystals of potassium permanganate. Potassium permanganate. If in a beaker of water, you add a few crystals of potassium permanganate, what will you find? A colored streaks will start coming out of these grains. In the beginning, you will be able to clearly see the streaks, and slowly, the streaks will get merged in water, and it will become uniformly colored, kind of bright pink color or purple color. You have seen potassium permanganate. So what happens is, when this colored water is formed, you can take about 10 milliliter of this colored water. Alright? And then put it again in a beaker which has about 100 milliliter of water. You can do this 3-4 times. Even in the last beaker, you will find it is slightly colored. Of course, the color will keep becoming light and light, but it will be colored. You know, few grains of potassium permanganate can color about 1000 milliliters of water. You can do this even with ink or just with Dettol. Water will become white. So where have the grains disappeared? That is the question. Their effect is there. We can see the color, but the grains have disappeared. So from these activities, our first point gets amply proved that matter is made up of small particles, the molecules. What is a characteristic? Characteristic is also referred as feature. Basically, a characteristic talks of structure and function, or you can say composition and behavior. So the characteristics of molecule we are going to study now. One, we have already talked that there is intermolecular force of attraction, because of which there is intermolecular space. So we can say first point is intermolecular force of attraction. Now going back to your classes. In every class, there are always some students who just cannot sit down. On drop of hat, they spring up and they will say, "Ma'am, this, ma'am, that. Shall we do this? Can I go out?" They remind me of molecules. Because just like them, molecules are also always moving, jumping. They are in constant motion. Molecules are in constant motion. As a matter of fact, why talk of only them? All of us move, isn't it? But the rate of motion varies. Some people are a little more jumpy than the others, isn't it? Similarly, in the case of molecules also, some molecules jump or move a little more than others. Anyway, we'll go to them a little later. Now, why do they jump? Why do they move? What do they have more? For every activity, we need energy. So, obviously, they have more energy. And an energy which is in a moving particle is called kinetic energy. So, the molecules have kinetic energy because of which they move. Now, how much kinetic energy is there will determine that where they are located vis-a-vis each other. So, now there are two things. One is the force of attraction and second is the energy. So, again an example of class. Your teacher is the force of attraction and you have the kinetic energy. The moment period is over, teacher goes out, the kinetic energy is more and everybody is standing from their seats, talking, yelling or just about moving around. But when the teacher is there, then everybody settles down. So there is a kind of who wins the game. Whether the force of attraction or the kinetic energy. If the kinetic energy is more, the space will be more. They will move away from each other. When the force of attraction is more and kinetic energy is less, they will come closer. Like in the first period, you move around more because you are fresh. There is more energy. By the end of the period, by the end of the day, the energy is little low. But then of course, when the bell rings, the energy comes and again you run. So the story of the space between the molecules depends upon two factors, kinetic energy and the intermolecular force of attraction.